What's going on, guys? It's me, your host, the one and only Two Toast. And today, we're going to be talking about the differences between a Washington and an Illinois dispensary. And I already know what you're thinking. Why the hell are you in Illinois? Well, I'm going to answer that question in just a second. But first, I want to ask you guys, how are you doing today? Just say hi. Let me know what's up. Back in June, I was helping my mom move from Florida to Washington, where I'm at, and we ended up, driving across the country, towing a U-Haul, and we stopped in Illinois. And that was our first place that we stopped that we were able to find some weed, where it was legalized recreationally at least. And I just wanted to sit here and kind of, talk about my experiences and just like the differences because it was kind of wild. This dispensary was a very large building. Typically the ones here in Washington are a little more quaint, a little more, they have a lot in them, but they're not super huge and super spread out. This dispensary was a very widespread layout, just very very tall, just looked like a warehouse almost, in like an office building of some sort that had been converted into a dispensary. Essentially, you walk in, and this isn't necessarily, you find this still here in Washington, but you walk in and there's a big waiting area, just an open room with the one single guy checking your IDs. And for us at the time, because it was kind of busy, we had to wait. The amount of people that were going in, it was being limited, so we had to wait in a little bit of a line, not a super long line, thankfully. So after the dude checks our ID, he sends us on through the door into the actual dispensary, where we kind of have this brochure that they gave us that we're just flipping through, showcasing some of their products. The bud tenders in Illinois, at least at this dispensary, they come up to you. They're not behind the counter in the dispensary, waiting to showcase the products to you necessarily. You have to wait for them to come to you. We finally have our bud tender comes up to us, and I'm expecting, that the bud tender is going to walk us around, show us around the different products, because I see some other people with talking to their bud tenders and they're standing in front of some of the cases and whatnot. So I'm waiting for that. But the next thing I know, my man just has his tablet pulled up and he's just like, "All right, so here's what we have. What can we get started for you guys today, essentially?" And I was like, caught off guard a little bit, honestly. I was like, all right, this is a little strange. This is just like essentially ordering online in Washington, just in the dispensary. I wasn't a huge fan of it because I'm used to having the products tangible in front of me. Even though you're not able to open up the products and look at them and smell them, you can still check it out through the jar, through the, whatever it may be, through the bag. There in Illinois, no, it was just you had to go based off what you were looking at on the screen and the bud tender's word. So okay, I guess. Whatever. So we tell them what we're looking for, we typically lean more towards the indica hybrid side of things. Because we're on a road trip, we're limited into what we can get. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a piece with us, and even if we did, we don't want to have to worry about carrying paraphernalia, having that out and present, the whole nine, the whole shebang, because we're traveling through a whole bunch of states going across country, you know? So we're essentially just looking for pre-rolls, really. We're really looking for pre-rolls because we had some cartridge, some vape carts already, but we didn't have any weed. We had no flour. We needed some of that, you know what I'm saying? So we got some pre-rolls. We got two different kinds of pre-rolls. I remember one of them being in more of kind of simplistic packaging, nothing too super fancy. And then one of them was in this really nice, I feel like it was either wooden or just really high quality packaging. Just really nice pack. Looked like a really high quality pack of cigarettes almost. But it had like a magnetic flap that you could open and it slides out. It was super clean, super nice. It was like a pack of 5, like 0.75 grams, so not even full gram joints, all right? before I go into the price of things, I'm not gonna hold it too much against the dispensary because it is Illinois. They have not been, in the game, so to speak, for very long. They haven't had legalized weed for, not as long as, Colorado, Washington, California, even Oregon, places like that. So I understand that the market isn't as competitive, so they can get away with charging essentially whatever they want, to be honest with you, which is kind of shitty, but it is what it is. So the really nice, fancy packaging of joints, that pack cost roughly $60 after tax. And then we got some other joints, which I think came out to roughly about 40. I want to say it was either like a couple 2-packs or a couple just 1 grammers. I don't remember exactly. I just remember that 1 pack for 5, not even full 1 gram joints being like 60 or more dollars after tax. It was fucking ridiculous. After we go through, we find our products that we want, we get our pre-rolls, we then are sent to the register to pay in Washington. The bud tender, you talk to him to get your weed, and it's the same person that checks you out. I've never had it any other way here in Washington. Illinois checked out your weed with the bud tender, but then you went and paid for it with the cashier, I guess, essentially. I guess I should also point out is that there were no ATMs in this dispensary, in which I was kind of a little bit worried. Not worried, I guess, but it was like, it threw me for a loop because every single dispensary I've walked into here in Washington had an ATM, right? Because you can only pay cash, So I was like, damn, no ATMs. I don't know if we have enough cash on us. I think we were just hoping we had enough on us. But it turns out that they accepted debit cards, but their terminals just acted as an ATM. So it charged you an ATM fee for your purchase. And then what they went ahead and did was that they just essentially gave you your change back for the ATM fee. But that whole paying for it kind of threw me for a loop. Honestly, I didn't expect that. I was very confused at first. I was also very confused as to how much to tip and who the tip was going towards and who's receiving these said tips, because you're supposed to leave your tip, at the cash register with the cashier, but the bud tender was really the one doing all the work with you, even though, it was just looking at products on a tablet. It wasn't even taking out products and showcasing you product. It was a very strange experience altogether. But it was like, who are we supposed to tip here? Because neither one of you honestly did very much. Like, how do we weigh this? How do we weigh this out here? Is this being split amongst the whole store? So like every single bud tender and cashier is part of a pool, or does it only go towards the bud tender? Like, is there some way that like it shows on a ticket or something? Like, I had no idea how that worked. I assumed it was just a pool with everyone in the store, because I feel like that's the most common thing that they do. But that was kind of weird to me, because I didn't really feel like either one of them was very much like deserving of much of a tip. But the bud tender, was obviously more deserving than the cashier. Like, why is the cashier getting some of the bud tender's tips if that's how it worked? I'm just making complete assumptions here. This is just me going on a slight rant here. Let's stop talking about the fucking tipping problems. Let's talk about the smoking problems, right? How this shit smoked, because boy, there were some problems, all right, which I was honestly expecting. I wasn't expecting anything to blow my pants off in Illinois. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't expecting it to happen. But I was hoping for a little bit more from that $60 pack of weed, man. Pay $60 pack of pre-rolls, bro, for not even a gram each. That shit heavy. And it ain't hit heavy. It hit weak, bro. That shit was fucking styrofoam. Alright? You had to smoke essentially the whole thing to even just feel a little bit of a buzz. Now, maybe some people, with the lightweight tolerances down in Illinois, but when you used to, quality weed all the fucking time, I'm not trying to boast or brag or nothing over here, but it just is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Even a fucking $20 pre-roll pack here in Washington is gonna fucking blow the socks off of whatever the hell that $60 bullshit was. I think the only thing it did have going for it is the fact that it wasn't rolled with trim. It was at least all flower pre-rolls, which it's very shitty here in Washington that a lot of the pre-rolls are rolled with trim. Honestly, you kind of got to be a little picky. That's why I'm not a huge fan of buying pre-rolls, because like you gotta either ask the question or you gotta know the company of whether or not they're using all flower or trim here in Washington. Which, I mean, some trim, it's usable, not that bad. If it's good trim, I can understand using it. But if it's bad trim, and there is sometimes, or there's even some, shitty trim, or, subpar trim mixed in with decent trim, you know what I'm saying? It's just, all in all, not great. You want the all-flower pre-rolls if you're going that route. The other ones, on the other hand, is I feel we might have either gotten maybe an infused pre-roll. I want to say we got infused something, and then maybe just another regular all-flower, but I want to say it was an infused joint, and that one was actually, it was decent. It tasted alright. It hit alright. It was a little harsh, though, because of the concentrate, the infused pre-roll, the infused nature of it, it'd be what it be. But at least it did something. But it was kind of unfortunate that a quarter of the infused pre-roll did what a whole of the regular pre-roll did. And now, I mean, of course, you're sitting here saying, yeah, duh, it's infused versus, regular just weed. But here's the thing, is that even with the infused, smoking it between two people, sharing a quarter of that joint should not equal sharing a whole fucking full flower joint. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even though it's more potent, if it's decent flower, decent to good flower, you're still gonna get a pretty good high off that, even, sharing a joint. I mean, depending on what your tolerance is. And because of this road trip, we hadn't smoked much, it wasn't like we were fresh off of just fucking blowing back some fucking eighths and over, you know what I mean? Like, we weren't over here just rolling through shit like that, you know what I'm saying? So it was a little unfortunate. All in all, the dispensary was very nice, though. I want to top it off with that. Is the best thing about the experience was how nice the dispensary looked. It was a very clean and a very high quality looking facility. Like, definitely the dispensary was a lot more high quality than at least what we bought from there. I mean, I'm sure they had some better stuff. Like I said, we weren't able to venture into, the concentrates, the flour. We had to stick to the pre-rolls, unfortunately, just because of the nature of being on a road trip. So, I wish I could give a more rounded review of all the products that they had there, but I didn't even get to see them besides on a screen. So I wish I could at least tell you guys that, they had some nugs that were looking good, or some dabs that were looking good, or whatever it may be. Truth is, I didn't see shit. And that's also what made it so difficult to purchase, is that we were going based off the bud tender's recommendation as to what was selling the best, and just what they've maybe personally smoked, and what they recommend just like the highest quality. So what are you gonna do, man? You win some, you lose some. All in all, it was alright. You got some weed. It solved the itch. It craved the itch. It got us through almost till we got to Oregon, which that's going to be the next video, discussing the differences between Washington and Oregon. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.